Chapter 110 Clues of Bracelet. There's already another squad that has discovered a magical beast entrance, and they were able to successfully destroy it. Officer Cheng walked out from the side as he spoke to everyone seriously. Shouldn't we be happy about this? Xu Dahuang immediately smiled. The squad was also completely wiped out. Not a single person escaped alive, Officer Cheng added with a whisper. The smile on Xu Dahuang's face immediately froze. The others opened their mouths in shock, no longer feeling any kind of excitement. The entrance of a magical beast most likely had a group of magical beasts. Maybe slipping into the place was rather simple. However, once the entrance was destroyed, the squad would definitely be surrounded by groups of magical beasts in an instant. In fact, when they were filtering members, Officer Cheng had clearly told everyone that the mission this time would most likely be one where you can go, but you will never return. Let's continue advancing. We shouldn't be too far from Minwen Girls' Middle, Officer Cheng said. There is a student street after we pass through this old house. After we pass through the student street, we will be able to see the gate to the girls' middle school. The report back then had said that there were vibrations coming from their cafeteria. Thus, the magical beast entrance is most likely beneath their cafeteria, Xu Dahuang told them. Everyone nodded in agreement and followed the route chosen by Xu Dahuang. On the way there, they had encountered a few troublesome magical beasts. However, they were quickly dealt with by Officer Cheng. An intermediate mage was able to instantly kill minion-class magical beasts, and so they proceeded relatively quickly. Help! Save me! Save me! Just as they were going to continue, a shrieking yell suddenly sounded out from in front of them. Just when Xu Dahuang was about to take action, Officer Cheng immediately stood in front of him to stop him. Xu Dahuang's face was filled with confusion. Just when he was about to open his mouth, Officer Cheng coldly said, "I have already said this when we set off. Our mission is to destroy the magical beast entrance. Even if we were to meet someone we know on the way, we cannot lend a helping hand. Other than Mo Fan, who is here to save his relative, I hope others will understand what they're here to do." Everyone entered a moment of silence. They were all battle mages, and obeying orders was their duty. Thus, even if there were miserable shrieks coming from the street to the right of the corner ahead of them, they could only bite their lips and remain where they were. Mo Fan was still shocked. However, after carefully thinking about it, he understood the reasoning behind the seemingly inhumane decision. If they were to save people en route, then the squad would become a rescue squad. With so many people burdening them, there's no way they would be able to charge into the magical beast entrance. Lingering around magical beasts for even an extra minute could result in their 10-person squad losing their lives. They had to pick this option. Even if just reaching their hands out to the people in front of them would be able to save them, they still could not do so. After 2 minutes had passed, the miserable shrieking yells finally disappeared. A few minutes later, Instructor Luo Yunbo returned to the squad and said to Officer Cheng, "The magical beasts have left. We can proceed." Luo Yunbo had personally seen those people being killed, and at this current moment, his complexion was very ugly. If it wasn't for the mission, then he would definitely have gone and saved them. In front of them was a street that could be considered quite spacious, and the entire road was empty of cars. However, on the asphalt were a few corpses that were still horrifyingly bloody. It hadn't been very long since they had died. As they took a few steps forward, a fat man's body, lying on the road and emitting a foul stench, moved suddenly. It seemed he hadn't died yet. With his eyes wide open, he raised his head with great effort as he looked at the squad. His eyes were filled with anger and suspicion. As he was crawling away with his body dripping blood, he had clearly seen this group of magicians in the reflections from the glass on a building. He was precisely yelling at these magicians to come and save him just before. However, when his legs were being bitten off by the magical beasts, these people didn't take a single action. When his lower body was almost completely swallowed by the magical beasts, these heartless magicians remained indifferent. When those battle mages walked past his body, he used his last bit of strength to grab onto the leg of one of them. He wanted to firmly ask these scoundrel battle mages why they would watch as everyone died. Pan Lijun slowly came to a stop. As she looked at the fat man, who was at his last breath, grabbing her, her eyes didn't have any trace of emotion. The next second, she continued to walk forward again. Everyone didn't look too much at the incomparably miserable man as they quickly moved on. Not too many steps further, they saw more corpses that were mutilated beyond recognition. After walking to the middle of the street, the battle mages who had suffered the silent criticism of the dying discovered a woman's corpse by the mouth of the underground tunnel, her throat torn out by a colossal-eyed ape rat. They probably wanted to escape using the underground sewers, but then... Luo Yenbo's voice was low. The underground sewers are the lairs of the colossal-eyed ape rats. They followed the path to their own doom. Xu Dahuang helplessly shook his head. The path they shouldn't have walked was precisely the sewers. The magical beasts had used the underground world to scatter into all of the locations of the city. Let's go. If we don't destroy this entrance, then there will be more people dying, Officer Cheng said without a sign of emotion. The others nodded. Just when Mo Fan was about to proceed forward, his pace abruptly came to a stop. His gaze was fixated on the wrist of the girl that was next to the entrance. He had never seen this girl before. However, the bracelet she wore was something he was very familiar with. This was a DIY bracelet he had bought for Yi Xinxia in the student street on her 16th birthday. They had chosen different beads to create this unique bracelet, and amongst them was a single, ugly black bead which he personally had inserted with great fanfare. Other boys and girls would string half the bracelet each. A careless person like Mo Fan had wasted a very long time to string together a very incompatible black bead. It was as though this beautiful DIY bracelet had been polluted by a rat. Yet, Xinxia had still worn it happily every day. This type of bracelet was everywhere on the streets. However, the black bead that he had strung was easily recognizable. This was definitely the DIY bracelet which he and Yi Xinxia had successfully completed through a cooperation. But why was it in the hands of an unfamiliar girl? Mo Fan, are you all right? At the front of the group, Pan Lijun turned around to look at him. I think I have found a clue. This girl is wearing my sister's bracelet. Mo Fan removed the bracelet from the girl's wrist. After going through a closer inspection, he confirmed it. The dead fatty's back has the logo of Walmart. These people must have escaped here from the underground sewers near Walmart. They were most likely found by colossal-eyed ape rats halfway through, which was why they tried to escape to the surface, Pan Lijun said. Mo Fan glanced toward the entrance of the sewers, and indeed there were 2 more corpses down there. Additionally, he could determine that they were from the sewers from the stench of the sewage on their bodies. Around this area, there should only be a Walmart supermarket beneath the Minwen shopping mall. Xu Dahuang was very familiar with this area, and he immediately said this to Mo Fan. The search from before was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Who would have thought that the heavens would be so nice to him, and allow him to find some clues? Although he couldn't confirm if Yi Xinxia was at the supermarket or not, now, he'd at least have a direction to go. At least he wasn't like a headless housefly, looking around this area. Mo Fan nodded. I understand. Then we'll wish you luck. Officer Cheng no longer said anything else as the team continued to advance. I wish you luck. Chapter 111 Meeting the Black Vatican again. To the side of the plaza, a purple radiance suddenly flashed. Following which, numerous traces of lightning enveloped the body of a one-eyed magic wolf, its mouth now filled with blood. As the one-eyed magic wolf's body was completely charred by the lightning, its eye was filled with anger. It was completely unable to move its body. It wanted to slit open the tiny human's chest in front of it with its claws, but it was unable to do so. At last, the one-eyed magic wolf collapsed under the repeated bombardment of magic. From the beginning to the end, it did not have a single opportunity to even touch the human magician. Fortunately, I discovered it and seized the opportunity. Mo Fan took a long breath as he looked at the already dead one-eyed magic wolf. This was his first time facing a magical beast by himself. If it wasn't for his lightning spell, then he could have easily gotten torn into pieces by the vigorous and powerful one-eyed magic wolf. Just now, Mo Fan had used his lightning strike to first control it, and then switched to Fire Burst's rupture effect to deal with the completely unprepared one-eyed magic wolf. After passing through this small valley, the shopping mall was just ahead of him. Mo Fan looked for a relatively safe passage to approach the shopping mall. Beside the shopping mall was a balcony located 10 floors up. On the balcony were 2 men wearing black clothing. They looked as though they couldn't be found by magical beasts, as they were scanning this city area with ease. There was a purple radiance appearing just now. It should be a lightning magician. Oh, he has appeared. It looks like he's walking toward the shopping mall. Among them was a man with a hawk-shaped nose. It's actually him. The other man, with his face wrapped, had a flash of hatred appear within his eyes. "You know him?" the hawk-nosed man asked. "Of course I know him. Stay and guard here. I will go and kill him," the man with his face wrapped said. "Don't take too long. We still have a mission to do." "I know. However, no matter what, I will slaughter this person." After saying this, the man with his face wrapped issued a command. Soon enough, a few black beast monsters appeared to his left and right and began to jump toward the shopping mall. On the other side, Mo Fan had already arrived at the flight of stairs within the shopping mall. His luck was very good. Although there were a few colossal-eyed ape rats within the large shopping mall, they hadn't detected Mo Fan's presence, allowing Mo Fan to successfully arrive at the flight of stairs. The shopping entrance had clearly been destroyed. Mo Fan cautiously scattered the beast-seeking powder to prevent falling prey to a surprise attack from the magical beasts on the first floor. As the beast-seeking powder scattered, this dandelion-like special medicine slowly drifted toward Mo Fan's surroundings. It was evident that it was telling Mo Fan that there was a creature quickly approaching from his right side. Swoosh! Suddenly, a black shadow quickly scuttled toward Mo Fan's whereabouts. The sharp claws sliced through the glass door as it flew ferociously toward Mo Fan. Mo Fan subconsciously dodged to the glass door by his side, dodging this ferocious attack. The black shadow continued to attack. It was clear that it didn't care about the glass, as its head smashed into the glass doors, while at the same time, glass fragments began to fly everywhere. Mo Fan hurriedly hid inside. As he lowered his head, he discovered that there was a very deep wound on his arm. It stretched from a location slightly lower than the shoulder, all the way to his elbow, and a scorching pain quickly followed. Shit, what is this? Its speed is actually that fast. Luckily, Mo Fan had scattered the beast-seeking powder. It just happened to find that there was a creature off to the side, or else what would have been ripped apart could very possibly have been his own chest. Mo Fan quickly ran away. When he turned his head around, he happened to see the creature that had smashed into the glass looking confused as it climbed up. Black beast monster. Mo Fan was shocked. Isn't that human-figured monster with an extremely ugly monkey face the symbol of the Black Vatican, the Black Beast monster? Could it be that there are people from the Black Vatican here? You're quite fast in hiding. Unfortunately, this time, it will be impossible for you to survive to see the sun of the next day. A cold and gloomy voice slowly called out from the location of the door. A person in black clothes had appeared by the door, his entire face covered by a black cloth. Who's this person? Mo Fan felt that he had heard this voice somewhere before. He couldn't think of just which scoundrel it was. You don't recognize me? Ha ha ha, alright, I'll let you see just who I am. The man from the Black Vatican began to laugh loudly as he raised his hand to slowly unwrap the wrapping on his face. Soon enough, the bandages that were around this person's face had dropped. However, what entered Mo Fan's sights was a face that looked slightly frightening. The skin on the left side of his face looked as though it had rotted. It felt like it had been melted by some kind of acid. His left eyeball had no skin covering the eye socket, making it look huge and quite frightening. His right face, however, Mo Fan had seen before. It's just Mo Fan had never thought that this person would actually be a person from the Black Vatican. Do you recognize me now? The man from the Black Vatican slightly leaned his face to the side, allowing Mo Fan to see his entire right face. The somewhat stiff face maintained a strange smile. So it was you. Is this your new mask made to scare little kids? It doesn't look too bad. Mo Fan felt shocked, however, his mouth didn't show it as he directly mocked him. Shut up! The Black Vatican man's two disharmonized faces immediately distorted. He ferociously turned the other ugly side of the face over. He carried immense hatred and anger toward Mo Fan, desiring Mo Fan to be skinned alive and directly eaten. Having the opportunity to be a good young master of a noble family, yet, you decide to be a dog for the Black Vatican, Mo Fan coldly replied. My face was granted to me because of you, the Black Vatican man yelled out with a painful voice. What does it have to do with me? Mo Fan said, the person who should have entered the underground holy spring is me. It should have been me. If I gave the underground holy spring to Senior Salang, I would have been able to become a deacon in the Black Vatican. For this plan, just how many years did I pay? 10 years. For 10 years, I have been a dog for that old scoundrel Mu Joyin. I obeyed everything he said. I served him like I would have served my biological father. I obtained his trust just so I could take the underground holy spring that day. In the end, you destroyed my secret plan of 10 years and caused my current appearance. Do you know the pain when Senior Salang put my face into the acid ghost water? Now, I will have you get a taste of that. Not just your face, I will have your entire body bathed in acid ghost water. I will turn you into a slave like the Black Beast monster, the Black Vatican man hysterically roared toward Mo Fan. Chapter 11210 Dark Beast Monsters. As Mo Fan saw this twisted guy, he couldn't help but think it was funny. The successor for Bo City's noblest family, which Mu Joyan had nurtured with great difficulty, had actually been a lackey from the Black Vatican that they had put in place 10 years ago. This plot had actually been proceeding for a long time. The enraged Darkwing Wolf, the excavated underground tunnels, the violent spring, stealing the underground holy spring. Everything had been in the palms of the Black Vatican. The interesting thing was, originally, it was supposed to be Yu Ang, the spy from the Black Vatican, who should have entered the underground holy spring and exchanged the springs. In the end, that person ended up being Mo Fan. Thus, it could be said that their plot to completely destroy Bo City had not been completely effective. No wonder Yu Ang's superior was so angry and gave him such a grotesque appearance. Thinking about it thoroughly, they had actually been defeated again as they suffered another setback. And that defeat seemed to have been caused by Mo Fan. Sigh, it really is destiny. Speaking of which, there was one thing in Yu Ang that Mo Fan sympathized with, and that was thinking Mu Joyan was an old scoundrel. You little waste that knows nothing, you ruined my great ambition and wrecked my face. Today, I will definitely let you taste my pain tenfold, 100-fold. Yu Ang shouted in anger. Mo Fan couldn't help but give a cold laugh as his gaze was fixated on Yu Ang and his Black Beast monsters. A defeated general taking action, even if you have one more Black Beast. Shit! Before Mo Fan could finish, a few deformed black figures emerged from behind Yu Ang. This event made Mo Fan realize it was not worth dealing with that frenzied Yu Ang as he began running toward the elevator entrance. As he was running, Mo Fan's hand condensed a ball of fire. Being unable to think too much, Mo Fan directly threw the ball of fire burst, rupture toward the door of the shopping mall, giving himself a bit more time to escape. The ball of fire exploded on the large door. The fire burst's fiery power blew an incredibly high and painful damage effect at the Black Beasts, and along with the shattered glass flying towards them, the Black Beasts naturally weren't able to get to Mo Fan in time. As it turned noisy, there were fragments of glass and fires everywhere. Yu Ang used his own shield defensive magic equipment to protect himself from the might of rupture, and then glanced toward the few Black Beast monsters that were rolling around the floor trying to extinguish the fires enveloping their body. His pair of eyes turned extremely vicious. He wouldn't give up until he killed Mo Fan. As he raised his hand, a continuous number of black shadows scuttled forth from beneath the stairs. The pursuit speed of these black shadows was extremely high. Under the command of Yu Ang, they quickly gathered around him, looking like a hunting squad. There were a total of 10 Black Beasts from the Black Vatican gathered around Yu Ang, making it plain just how heavy his desire to kill Mo Fan was. One had to know that this group of Black Beasts was originally assigned to guard the magical beast entrance. However, after seeing Mo Fan, Yu Ang had lost all form of rational thought. He had to kill Mo Fan no matter what. Yu Ang, return to me immediately. There's a squad of magicians approaching the magical beast entrance. Just when Yu Ang was going to enjoy his banquet of revenge, he heard the voice in his earphones coming from the hawk-nosed man. Yu Ang was exceptionally angry. He wanted to personally see these Black Beasts skin Mo Fan alive. Alright, I'll be there soon. Yu Ang didn't dare to disobey him. If disobedience was made known to Senior Salang, then it wouldn't be something like just burning off the other side of his face. That man was the scariest person Yu Ang had ever met in his life. Yu Ang ferociously swept past Mo Fan, who had escaped into the elevator. Watching him climbing into the non-functioning elevator made Yu Ang expose a savage smile. The Black Beast monsters are experts at pursuit. After they catch up to you, they will rip off your flesh bit by bit, exposing your bones and digging out every one of your organs. Thus, go ahead and enjoy, run, you won't be able to escape from the 10 Black Beasts. Yu Ang said toward Mo Fan's fleeing back while laughing. The laughter slowly began to fade out. It was evident that Yu Ang believed that Mo Fan didn't have the ability to escape from the 10 Black Beasts' attack formation. In fact, the black beast's combat prowess was somewhere between a colossal-eyed ape rat and a one-eyed magic wolf. When it came to sneak attacks and pursuing, however, it was even more frightening than either magic beast. 10 black beasts that knew how to cooperate to hunt a target were far more frightening than 10 one-eyed magic wolves. Furthermore, Yuang had given his command of doom. The black beasts would definitely pursue Mo Fan non-stop, and kill him most cruelly. Mo Fan didn't dare to stop at the moment. He wasn't afraid of Yuang at all. Even if there was one additional black beast, Mo Fan would still be able to contend against the two. However, when there were a whole 10 black beasts, that was definitely not something he was capable of dealing with. After arriving outside of the elevator, Mo Fan forcefully opened the elevator doors with his hands. The elevator was clearly at the very bottom floor. Mo Fan decisively jumped into the nearly empty elevator hole, and then quickly grabbed onto the metal cable within the hole of the elevator as he climbed up. The quality of Mo Fan's body wasn't bad. The speed he was climbing at wasn't slow. However, after climbing only 3 meters, there was an ugly shriek coming from below. It was a black beast jumping into the dark depths of the elevator. The well of the elevators had a limited amount of space. The black beast didn't grab onto the cables, and thus it fell down to the lowest level of the elevator, landing on the top of the elevator that was stopped at the first sublevel. It was momentarily stunned from the fall. Following behind it was the second black beast jumping out. Learning from the one that had fallen down, this black beast used its claws to grab onto the cables, and then it used its strong forelimbs to quickly climb after him. "Shit! Fall down for this, daddy!" Mo Fan cursed. As he said this, his 2 hands were tightly holding onto the cable ropes. From his fingers, an electric arc was transmitted to the cables through his palms. The electric arc quickly shot down, hitting the black beast that had nearly grabbed onto Mo Fan. Afterwards, its forelimbs clearly withdrew. Groan. The black beast emitted a shriek. Its body quickly smashed down. It smashed right onto the first black beast that was going to climb the cables to catch up. Hilarity ensued, and ended with a crash. Mo Fan let out a relieved breath before he began to quickly climb again. After passing through the reinforced glass of the elevator, Mo Fan realized that these black beasts possessed a certain level of intelligence. After they realized that Mo Fan could use the power of lightning to make them unable to climb the cable ropes, the black beasts did something that made Mo Fan want to curse out, and that was, run up the stairs. A large shopping mall was usually designed in a way that there would be an escalator and an elevator. They left 4 black beast monsters to guard the entrance of the elevator and had them watch Mo Fan within the elevator well. The other 6 collectively ran toward the escalator on the other side. It was clear that they were going to the 2nd and 3rd floor to pursue Mo Fan. The reinforced glass within the elevator well might be a bit hard for them to destroy. However, the door of the elevator could easily be pulled open. If they were to keep guard over the top and the bottom, then Mo Fan wouldn't be able to preserve his little life. Thus, after getting to the 2nd floor, Mo Fan didn't think twice before he immediately pulled open the 2nd floor elevator door. He jumped to the side, toward the emergency tunnel, and ran. After getting there, Mo Fan encountered a situation. Chapter 113 Losing is not permitted. The black beast's speed was fast, but after taking a detour around the escalator to the 2nd floor, they had to take yet another detour to get to the elevator. Naturally, they had spent a little more time because of that. This gave Mo Fan an opportunity to take a breather, and allowed him to rush into the emergency tunnels. Mo Fan frantically ran through the emergency tunnels. From what he could remember, the 3rd floor of this shopping center had a very secretive control room. When he was here shopping with Xinxia in the past, he had nearly barged into someone's control room while he was looking for the lavatory. The material of the room was much thicker than the others, so if he was able to hide there, then he could temporarily prevent the black beast monsters from hurting him. The problem is, the black beast monsters' claws were really sharp. They were able to tear the iron sheet of a car in 2. Thus, other than those secured warehouses that were made with special materials which they couldn't penetrate through, the other control room for civilian use was unable to continuously resist the attack of 10 black beasts. In other words, if he can delay them for a period of time, then that'd be great. Naturally, the most important thing is that Mo Fan wanted to use the control room to find the whereabouts of Yi Xinxia. The control room was actually the surveillance room. If all the security cameras in the shopping mall were still functional, then they would be displaying on the monitors within the control room. The control room's electricity came from the electricity generator, and so even after the shopping mall's electricity has been cut, the security cameras should still function normally. As he ran to the third floor, the control room wasn't too far from the emergency tunnel. Just when Mo Fan had arrived at the door, he heard the god's forsaken black beast monster's fast-paced steps and their avaricious gasp for breath resounding within the corridor. They seemed to have knocked over some of the things in the corridor, causing a few ping-pong noises. Thank the heavens, the doors aren't locked. As Mo Fan saw the control room, he charged in without hesitation and quickly shut the door. Just when he had tightly shut the thick iron door, a few depressions suddenly appeared on the iron door. The whole door made a shivering noise. It was clear that a black beast had directly slashed right onto the door. There was no longer anyone in the control room. Mo Fan swept his gaze across the room and immediately locked onto a surveillance camera that was extremely close to the control room on the third floor. Through the monitor, Mo Fan shockingly discovered the 10 black beasts assembled outside of the door of the control room. They were using everything they had to attempt to tear apart the control room door. The black beasts were temporarily unable to break down the iron door. Mo Fan's gaze quickly swept over the room. In front of him was a row of computer monitors that looked like a beehive. He was able to see practically the entirety of the shopping mall, including the Walmart on the underground floor. The supermarket was very big, with the goods being arranged in rows. There were many places that obstructed line of sight, and from a glance, he was not able to see a single person. Wait, there was some activity here. Suddenly, Mo Fan saw something slowly wiggling around in the camera. From the angle that Mo Fan was looking at it, it looked as though it had climbed out from Walmart's warehouse. Mo Fan quickly found the camera in Walmart's warehouse, and to his surprise, he discovered a colossal-eyed ape rat digging its way out of the underground sewers, its body stained with blood. The underground world was the lair of the colossal-eyed ape rats. They would be able to surface as long as there was a tunnel. At the moment, it was clear that there were 2 colossal-eyed ape rats who had surfaced inside of the Walmart using the underground tunnel. Fortunately, Xinxia is not there, or else it'd be dangerous. Xinxia, just where are you? Mo Fan continued to look around, yet he did not find Xinxia's figure. When Mo Fan swept his gaze over the monitors of Walmart once more, he suddenly found a wheelchair parked right next to the large fridge. Mo Fan immediately widened his eyes as he tried to drag that monitor closer to himself. The control of the video wasn't too difficult. Mo Fan quickly found it. When he zoomed in with the camera, he was increasingly confident that this was Xinxia's wheelchair. Xinxia isn't on the wheelchair. Mo Fan felt his heart being stabbed by something sharp. His brain went into a chaotic state. Could it be she? What's this? Just when he felt as though he was struck by lightning, Mo Fan accidentally discovered there was something within the large fridge next to the wheelchair, moving around. Mo Fan hurriedly turned his gaze to the other screen, and once again zoomed the camera closer. From the screen, Mo Fan shockingly discovered the large fridge that was originally used to store dairy products was actually holding a girl with black hair and a silk skirt. The wheelchair was next to it, and there was a person hiding within the fridge. She is definitely Xinxia, it's definitely her. Even if he wasn't able to see her face, Mo Fan was currently extremely confident that it was her. Good, that's really good. Mo Fan almost cried. Ever since he had heard the people from Minwen district hadn't evacuated, Mo Fan's heart had never been calm. He thought that he would never be able to see her again. Who would have thought that she was still alive? She was in the Walmart supermarket by herself. It was clear that she had been abandoned by the group of people who had escaped from the Walmart. It was also fortunate that she was left behind, or else she would have also died miserably beneath the fierce teeth of the colossal-eyed ape rats, just like the people from before. However, the current Mo Fan was unable to be happy, especially when he saw the 2 colossal-eyed ape rats that were stained in the blood of humans had already entered the dairy products area where Yi Xinxia was hiding. Mo Fan felt his own heart begin to race furiously. Imagine that. Hiding inside that fridge was the most important person to him. 2 colossal-eyed ape rats that were capable of taking her life away instantly were wandering near her, and this scene was visible to him through monitors. When you were gritting your teeth and praying in silence, the nervousness and insecurity would magnify infinitely. This would cause the hair on a person's entire body to stand up. His heart was viciously beating, and his gaze was completely focused on the screen. Currently, Mo Fan really wished he could charge down there and turn the two colossal-eyed ape rats that were getting increasingly closer to the fridge into ashes. It's just, Mo Fan's current situation was not any better. Behind that iron door were 10 black beasts whose strength was not any inferior to those colossal-eyed ape rats, standing guard and attempting to break through the door. It seemed like the only thing he could do was stand there and watch. No, I definitely cannot let it remain like this. Whether it was his current dangerous situation, or Yi Xinxia hiding from the pace of death. If he just relied on prayers, then he definitely wouldn't have a path to survive. The door would be broken down soon. There was no chance that Yi Xinxia would be able to stay hidden within that freezing refrigerator. She would be frozen to death there after all. That was a freezer at below zero. The two colossal-eyed ape rats did not discover Yi Xinxia hiding inside the freezer. However, it was clear that they were going to enjoy themselves by the meat department. The two magical beasts definitely wouldn't leave Walmart anytime soon, and Yi Xinxia wouldn't be able to hide in that freezer for any longer than 30 minutes. She was already shivering in the cold. In order to prevent the cold-hearted animals, like the colossal-eyed ape rats, from sensing her own body temperature, she hid herself inside a fridge with a temperature that was in the negative. It was covered in frost. Seeing a helpless Xinxia inside Walmart, seeing her curled up trembling within the freezer for survival, Mo Fan's heart nearly broke. He had said it before, no matter what, he'd protect her. In the end, he let her suffer this kind of torture and torment. As he ferociously clenched his teeth, Mo Fan didn't realize that he had already bitten open his lip. He firmly tightened his fist. He knew that if he was to wait longer, he'd just be letting Yi Xinxia get closer to death. At last, Mo Fan suddenly sat down and tightly closed his eyes. Little Loach Pendant, I let you absorb all of the underground holy spring. Now, I will use all of my effort to break through. Please bestow me upon all of the energy that you are able to provide me with. Mo Fan seemed to direct it toward the Little Loach Pendant, but he was actually also saying that to himself. Back when he was still in the underground hall, Mo Fan had already attempted to attack the intermediate level. However, he had not succeeded. This time, he would do it with the help of the Little Loach Pendant. The underground holy spring had indeed been drunk. Mo Fan did not lie about that part. However, it wasn't Mo Fan who drank it, it was actually completely absorbed by the Little Loach Pendant. Currently, Mo Fan planned on attacking his own cultivation once more within this short period of time. However, this time, he would not allow himself to fail.